right, Andy, moving on to silver, because who would have ever thought we would have a 10-minute discussion on Coca-Cola stock? But let's move on to silver. Okay, silver, I'm a big investor in silver. It's probably my favorite investment. I really enjoy it. I believe in its fundamentals. I think the inflation is icing on the cake. And it's been stuck here almost about 2 years now around this $30 level. And it always seems to, like, just when we think it can't get worse or when we think it's about to break out, it has these pullbacks a few bucks and then it gets stuck here. Now we're stuck here around the 29 level. Just want to ask you, what's your overall opinion on the silver markets right now? If you think that we're ready to have a breakout, or if we're going to be kind of just waiting down here for a while.
Well, again, I try not to be too short term. Although we were talking before the call about Jim Sinclair, who I followed for 11 years, and he's been the best fundamental and technical prognosticator for the markets ever. I have never ever seen him make a short term call. Never. And right now, he has put in a call that says the bottom is in, and it's not just that we're going to move up, but that the next phase of the PM bull market is going to take place starting basically now in the next few weeks, and that 2013 is when all these events that you're talking about are going to start to come into play, meaning a bit of a loss of control by the powers that be of the money printing, market manipulation, and propaganda. So that's his short-term call. He's been doing it for 30 years. He called the top of the gold market in 1980. So I will go with that if you're asking what was my belief of the near term. But if you talk about silver itself. Look, I've gone over in my pieces. I did a piece called Peak Silver a few weeks ago, and many others. I've gone over the fundamental situation of silver. Look, it passed $30 in November of 2010. What I call D-Day, November 9th, 2010. That's when I saw all the algorithms start to come into the stocks and the ETFs trying to keep PMs down. And ever since, it's been a slog. But you look at what the cartel has done over this 2-year period, essentially, more than 2 years now. They've created the most massive base I've ever seen in a security. Basically, in silver, you're talking about at $28 or so, and this for gold, it's probably about $1,500, which coincidentally, now that we see the mining companies putting out all-in costs, that's about the cost of production for both metals. For silver, it's pretty clear, based on some of the work I've seen from particularly Steve St. Angelo, that about $30 an ounce has become the marginal cost of production. So we're not going to stay below $30 too long because it's simply unprofitable. And if you look at this massive, massive base that's built, that's become, you could say, oh man, they're smashing it down every time. The other side of the glass, the half full glass, is saying, well, yeah, but they can't get it below $28. And my firm belief is that there's just no way that all the technical, fundamental, all the seasonal factors that are going to kick in the next couple of months are not going to make Jim Sinclair look right. But again, I can't pick a day or a week, but it appears to me that after a 2-year consolidation, and I say consolidation loosely because it's all cartel-based, but after a 2-year period where the fundamentals have never accelerated more. I mean, think about how much money's been printed in those 2 years. I think we're getting close to the time where both metals are ready to move up again.
Now, Andy, you and I had a great discussion about the mining costs. I talked about uranium and platinum and palladium. People look at that, and it's very open to everybody that they're mining these things at less than they're selling them at spot. But the silver miners and gold miners, you go to their PDFs, their special investor relations reports, and it shows, $500, $600, $700 for gold and $7, $8, $9 for silver. What's the real cost of gold? And by the way, for those listening to this who aren't familiar with Andy's most recent job was the mining industry. He knows these miners up and down, so he speaks with great credibility on this. What is the cost to mine silver and gold per ounce?
Right, and first I'll back it up further. I spent 10 years as a ranked oil field service analyst on Wall Street, so I know all about how costs are measured for energy companies. I did oil and gas companies and how they have this cash cost versus total cost. Now, in gold and silver, and again, I did work 5 years for junior miners as well, so I know how it works for their business too. What they report is what's called cash costs. Now, cash cost means you do all the work to get a mine open. It could take you 10 years and $10 billion to do. And then what you report is you say, okay, but now it's open. This is the variable cost of production, ignoring all of the costs, all of the sunk costs, all of the opportunity costs, all the development costs, exploration costs, permitting costs, you name it, ignoring all that. And now that the mining stocks have been hammered so badly, and now I'm talking about just producers at the moment, there's been a cry out to them saying, well, you got to, give better information. I mean, the best thing that these guys can do would be to confront the main thing that's hurting their business, which is a gold cartel, and say, we're going to hold back production. But they don't do that. Instead, they say, all right, we'll just give you new numbers for our costs, telling us what we all knew. I mean, Barrick and Newmont have been saying all along they have cash costs of $500 an ounce, when everyone knows that all you have to do is look at their profits and their horrible returns on equity, know that that's not the case. And sure enough, that they both said, yes, now we're going to do these all-in costs, and it's closer to maybe $1,100 an ounce, right?
Yeah.
So, and remember, Newmont and Barrick are the survivors. They're the ones who acquired every one of these good mines that was out there when we had this massive depression in the industry for 20 years. So if Newmont and Barrick are telling you that their cost all in is $1,100, and I believe it's more, just look at the whole Pascal Lama thing in Barrick, which I wrote about, and you'll see in my rant on Wednesday. If they have the best mines in the world that are $1,100, what do you think the average mine is? And that's why this guy, Steve St. Angelo, his handle is SRS Rocco. He's on silverdoctors.com.
Yeah.
He's done extensive work, and he believes that the gold break-even cost is somewhere around $1,500 on average, and for silver, about $30 on average. And all you have to do is look at the profits, or should I say losses, of most producers, and you realize that's why. Look at the stock prices as well. I mean, yes, they're manipulated, but they wouldn't be doing this bad if they were reporting ridiculously good returns on equity. They're just not. The mining industry has some of the worst returns on equity of any business, and it's because the price is suppressed compared to the cost. The costs keep going up, but the prices haven't gone up with them.
Andy, in closing, I want to talk to you about the metal storage versus physical. This is something that I've had to overcome mentally, because when you think about that worst case scenario, you just want to hold that physical and you just want it close to you or hidden somewhere within at least your immediate region. You recently did a report, I believe was it your second tour of the Toronto facility?
Montreal. It was my second one. Yeah.
Montreal. Okay. Now, what is the idea behind storing it somewhere else? And do you have a number in your head that you throw out to people? Should it be 50%, in your home country, 50% out of your home country, or obviously the risks are greater in other countries. And I guess I'm kind of speaking ignorantly, because the United States has a history of doing things to people who own precious metals. Certainly they could tax it. I doubt they'll confiscate it. But anyway, getting back to the question, as far as metal storage in a foreign country, or at least not in your home, what is your thinking behind that?
Okay, well, it's perfect the way you started this conversation by saying it was a mental challenge to yourself to overcome. And look, I've had to overcome a lot of changes in my views about markets in the world in this past dozen years of hell that we've seen. The first was, again, I was a buy-side and sell-side stock analyst for 15 to 20 years. And I had to disavow, in my mind, everything I ever learned about fundamental analysis, technical analysis, because of the market rigging. It was very difficult mentally to say I can't ever do what I did for years, because it doesn't work anymore. And the same thing was also, there's no one who's more paranoid than me about what governments will do and the direction that the world is going. So again, it was a tremendous leap of mental faith to say to myself, I'm going to take the gold out of my house where it's safe, because I believe that whatever I do, there's going to be worst case. But basically, what transformed me was, one, look, Miles Franklin, my firm, we're one of the biggest bullion dealers. We have created what I believe is the best storage program you're going to find, for several reasons. One, it's in Canada, which I believe, if you're looking at all the countries you could put your gold in, Switzerland, London, Hong Kong, which is just too far for me. I think the political risk is about as low as you're going to get. It's also in Montreal, just over the border from our firm's headquarters in Minnesota. We audited quarterly. I just went to our audit last week, and I did a report on it. I saw them count my gold. So I feel very comfortable with it. This week, for the next 3 years, have fixed rate pricing, unlike anyone else. Everyone else has variable rate, meaning if the price of gold doubles, you pay twice. But the real thing was the mental challenge of saying, that it's somewhere else. And the thing that convinced me was knowing that I feel comfortable it's there. It's not like I sent it to Switzerland and I get a piece of paper every quarter that says, don't worry, we got it. I know that me and the officers of my firm, along with an independent auditor now, we just added that from Bureau Veritas, are going to count it every quarter. I have pictures of it from prior audits, and I've seen it this time. So I feel good, number one, that it's there. I know that it's there. There's no doubt in my mind it's not a scam. It's not pooled. It's fully segregated, and it's there. Now, the other thing is, do I worry about that it's going to get taken by the Canadian government, or the U.S. government's going to force the Canadian government to take it? I mean, if you're talking about a situation where the country where I consider the best political risk jurisdiction in the world would consider going into our little vault, Miles Franklin, and taking our gold, it's going to be such a horrible world that's going to be the last thing on my mind. It's like worrying about, what Coca-Cola stock will do if there's a currency crash, okay? I mean, I don't have all of it there, for one. And if I did, it would be a world where it would be so bad that, just having physical silver, just having some junk silver on your house will probably save you. So I can't worry about that. I can't see a situation that bad where the Canadian government, which has all this resources in their nation, would be trying to steal tiny piddly amounts of gold and silver. And if it did, what can I do? The world's not worth living in. That's how I view it.
That's a good point. I mean, look, if the damn vault's being overridden by angry mobs and everybody's abandoned ship, I mean, our problems are probably so bad.
Think about in Canada, where they have only 20 million people, far better financial situation, lots of resources. Think about how bad things would be over here if things were that bad in Canada.
Yeah. Now, when you said your gold, I'm aware of the answer, but I just want people to visualize it, because if you put a black marker on your gold coins, in 3 months, when you go back to check that, those are still your gold coins, because I think that's what people think. They think they're going to send the money to these other places, and you never see the gold. You have no access to the gold. Well, here, let's ask that. With Miles Franklin, you could get your gold back if you wanted. That specific bar, you could get it back to in your physical possession.
Everything is totally segregated, and you could call us up tomorrow and say, I want it sent to a bank in Canada where I go and pick it up, or I want it sent to my home in the United States, and it'll be taken by Brink's truck. And I'll tell you what the vault looks like. This is how it looks. If you have small amounts, you don't have giant stacks of bars or mint boxes. You have your own lock box. It's almost like a P.O. box at the post office. There's a separate key for every single box. They opened up my box. They took it out. In the bag was exactly what I had sent up there. They counted it right in front of me with the aid of an independent auditor. They put it right back in the box. If you have mint boxes or large things that can't fit in lock boxes, they're on pallets. Pallets have your name on it and your number, and we counted every one. We said, John Smith has 3 boxes. We said, it's on pallet number 10. And we went to pallet number 10, and there it said, John Smith, John Smith, John Smith. Everything is yours, and everything can be sent right back to you immediately on demand. Or you can send it to Miles Franklin, and we can cash it and send you the money via wire or check immediately.
Andy Hoffman of MilesFranklin.com. Don't forget, everyone, if you purchase over $1,500 in precious metals through Miles Franklin, you can get free shipping. Just mention FutureMoneyTrends.com. Andy, thank you so much for your time.
Great interview. Thanks a lot, Daniel.